There are moments in life when silence is not merely the absence of sound, but a storm that rages within the soul. You wake up each day carrying burdens that no one sees, fighting battles no one understands, and enduring wounds inflicted by those you once trusted the most. Their words may have cut deeper than any sword, their actions may have shattered your spirit, and their betrayal may have shaken the very foundations of your faith in humanity. Yet you endured. You did not retaliate, you did not seek revenge. Instead, you chose the path less traveled, the path of growth, humility, and unwavering trust in God. But have you ever wondered why your pain feels so purposeful, why your trials seem so personal? Could it be that you were not abandoned in your suffering, but chosen for something greater? What if your pain is not a punishment, but preparation? What if the tears you shed in the quiet stillness of night are not in vain, but are seen and counted by the one who governs the heavens? You see, we live in a world that measures strength by dominance, success by wealth, and worth by applause. Yet in God's eyes, the measure of a person is not in their possessions or their power, but in the refinement of their soul. And refinement, my friend, often comes through pain, not the kind of pain that destroys, but the kind that transforms. When the world wounds you and you still choose to forgive, still choose to love, still choose to rise, something extraordinary happens within you. You begin to grow in ways unseen by the human eye, but undeniable in the spiritual realm. There is a divine mystery in suffering. It humbles us, yes, but more importantly, it awakens us. It awakens us to the reality that this life is not about proving our worth to others, but about walking in alignment with God's purpose. The very people who broke you were never meant to define you. Their cruelty was not the end of your story, it was the beginning of your transformation. As you grew in silence, God was writing a new chapter, one where your pain would not only be acknowledged, but rewarded, one where those who mocked your faith, belittled your worth, and caused your suffering would be brought low not by your hands, but by His justice. And yet, justice in God's kingdom is not like the justice of men. It does not scream for vengeance, it whispers of redemption. It does not demand retribution, it promises restoration. Your pain is not overlooked by God. It is sacred in His sight. Every moment you endured, every injustice you bore, every tear you wept in secret was seen by the Almighty. And He, in His perfect time, will reward your endurance, not because you demanded it, but because you grew through it, because you trusted Him through the darkness and walked by faith when all else failed. Let me ask you, how many times have you questioned why they prospered while you suffered? How many nights have you cried, wondering if God had forgotten you? But what if their apparent success is not a sign of divine favor, but a test of your faith? And what if your season of pain is not a delay in God's promise, but the very soil from which your reward will grow? It is in these moments of deep reflection that we begin to see with spiritual eyes. God is not slow to act. He is meticulous. He is not silent. He is strategic. He is shaping you, molding you, elevating you in ways that can only come through fire. And when the time comes, He will make it known, not only to you but to those who caused your pain, that He was with you all along. He will not only restore what was lost, but will elevate you beyond what you ever imagined. And those who look down upon you, who ridiculed your journey, will witness the hand of God upon your life. They will be humbled, not by your pride, but by His power. Your story is not over. In fact, the most powerful chapter is about to begin, and it begins with this truth. When you grow spiritually, God will reward your pain and humble those who caused it. There is a kind of pain that goes beyond the physical, a pain that etches itself deep into the soul, It's the kind that lingers in the silence, the kind that no one else sees or understands. It's the pain of betrayal by someone you trusted, the agony of being overlooked, dismissed, and belittled. It's the ache of giving your all and still being treated like you're nothing. This kind of pain can make you question your worth, your purpose, and even your faith. And yet, what if this pain was not meant to destroy you, but to shape you? What if the very thing that broke you was the key to your promotion? You see, God does not waste pain. He allows it for a reason, and that reason is greater than what your eyes can see in this moment. Pain in God's hands becomes a tool, not of punishment, but of preparation. While the world tries to bury you under the weight of sorrow, God uses that weight to build within you a strength that cannot be shaken. It is in the furnace of affliction that your character is refined, your spirit is strengthened, and your purpose becomes clear. Have you ever noticed that the most powerful people are often the ones who have suffered the most? They didn't rise because life was easy. They rose because they endured. And that endurance forged within them a resilience, a wisdom, and a depth that no success alone could have produced. God is doing the same with you. Your pain is not a dead end, it's a doorway. It's the passage through which you must walk to reach the promotion God has prepared for you. Think of Joseph in the Bible. Betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and thrown into prison, his pain was unimaginable. And yet, each step of his suffering was leading him closer to the throne. Each betrayal, each injustice, each moment of loneliness was not a setback, it was a setup. God was preparing him not just to survive, but to reign. And in the same way, the pain you're feeling now is not random. It is the hand of God shaping you, positioning you for something far greater than you can imagine. But here's what's crucial. Will you allow the pain to make you bitter, or will you allow it to make you better? Will you let it harden your heart, or will you let it deepen your faith? That choice is yours. God allows the pain, but how you respond to it determines whether it becomes a prison or a promotion. If you can look beyond the hurt, if you can trust God in the midst of the suffering, He will turn your pain into power. There's a sacred beauty in the broken. The world may see only your scars, but God sees the strength that is forming beneath them. Every tear you've cried, every sleepless night, every moment of despair, it's not in vain. God is storing it all, using it all, transforming, and when the time is right, He will elevate you, not just so you can escape the pain, but so you can testify to His power. The very people who doubted you, mocked you, and tried to break you will one day witness your rise, not because you fought back, not because you took revenge, but because you allowed God to use your pain as a pathway to promotion. They will see that it was in the fire that you were forged, and in the ashes that you were lifted. Your reward will not come from man, but from God Himself, the one who sees in secret and rewards openly. So don't despise the pain. Don't curse the process. God is using it all to lift you higher, to take you further, and to make you stronger. Your promotion is coming, and it is born from the very pain you are enduring today. There is something sacred about humility, something powerful in remaining quiet when falsely accused, gentle when harshly treated, and faithful when the world gives you every reason to walk away. Humility is not weakness. It is the greatest form of strength. It takes immense courage to humble yourself, especially when you know you're right, when you've been wronged, and when your heart cries out for justice. And yet, throughout Scripture and life, one truth echoes time and again. Those who humble themselves before God will be exalted in due time. Your time is coming, not the time of your choosing, not the time the world demands, but God's time, a time that is perfect, precise, and unstoppable. When you chose not to lash out, when you chose not to retaliate, You made a decision that heaven took notice of. While others acted out of pride, arrogance, and malice, you stayed low, clinging to your faith, trusting that God sees all, knows all, and will act in His divine way. That humility, that quiet surrender, is the very soil in which God plants greatness. It can feel unbearable though, can't it? Watching those who hurt you prosper, watching them smile, succeed, and boast, while you sit in silence, your heart heavy with pain. It feels unfair. It feels as though your humility is forgotten, as though your obedience is wasted. But that is the great lie of the enemy, to convince you that God has overlooked your faithfulness. Let me assure you, God misses nothing. Every act of humility, every time you held your tongue, every moment you chose peace over pride, He saw it, and He is preparing to honor it. There is a divine principle at work. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Those who rise on pride will fall by pride. Those who build their lives on arrogance are building castles on sand. It may look grand for a moment, but when the winds come, and they always do, it will all come crashing down. But you, who built your life on humility, on faith, and on God's promises, will not only endure, but be exalted. Consider David, anointed by God but hunted by Saul. He had every reason to fight back, to claim what was his, to assert his authority, yet he waited. He refused to take matters into his own hands. He humbled himself, trusted God's timing, and in the end was lifted higher than he could have imagined. David's story is not just history, it's a blueprint for you. Your humility is your preparation. Your waiting is not wasted. It is holy, and in due time, God will lift you up before those who once looked down on you. Ask yourself, what if the delay is not a denial, but a divine test? What if your current pain is the proving ground for your future elevation? What if God is watching to see if you will remain faithful in the shadows before He brings you into the spotlight? Humility teaches you to wait, to trust, and to believe that you don't need to promote yourself because God is your promoter. You don't have to chase validation, attention, or revenge. The one who called you, the one who sustained you, is also the one who will exalt you. And when He does, it won't be subtle. It won't be hidden. It will be undeniable. God will exalt you in such a way that those who doubted you, those who mocked you, and those who tried to bury you will have no choice but to witness His glory on your life. The same people who overlooked you will see you walk in favor. The same voices that criticized you will be silenced by the magnitude of your elevation. So keep walking in humility. Keep trusting God's timing. Stay grounded. Stay faithful. Stay silent if needed. Because in due time, and that time is coming, God Himself will exalt you, and no power on earth can stop it. There comes a point in every soul's journey where the weight of injustice becomes too heavy to carry alone. You may have walked through seasons of betrayal, ridicule, and abandonment, and in those moments your heart likely cried out, "Why, God? Why me?" You did not deserve the cruelty, the false accusations, the deliberate attempts to undermine your character. You offered love, received rejection, you gave your best, yet they found fault. You sought peace, and they returned chaos. These experiences are not just painful, they are soul-wrenching. And perhaps the most agonizing part is watching those who hurt you continue to walk freely, untouched by consequences, while you are left to bear the wounds. But there is a higher court than the opinions of men, a higher authority than the systems of this world. God is a God of justice, not just any justice, but divine justice, perfect, pure, and precise. He sees everything that has been done to you, not from the limited view of man, but from the eternal vantage point of heaven. Every deceitful word, every manipulative act, every cruel betrayal, None of it escaped his notice. And while it may seem that the wicked prosper and the righteous suffer, God's justice is never absent. It is simply waiting for the appointed time. Your enemies may speak loudly now, but God's justice will silence them, not with noise, but with undeniable acts that declare his hand upon your life. When God moves, he does so in ways that no man can deny. He lifts up the humble, vindicates the innocent, and reveals truth in such a way that those who once slandered your name are left speechless, not because you fought for yourself, but because you let God fight for you. Now, have you ever been in a situation where defending yourself felt useless, where every explanation fell on deaf ears? That's because there are battles we are not meant to fight. God steps into those battles when we step aside. He prepares a table before you, not in secret, but in the presence of your enemies, so that his justice is seen, not just felt. Your vindication is coming, and when it arrives, it will not be subtle. It will be public, it will be clear, and it will be final. Imagine this. The very people who spread lies about you will witness the truth shine so brightly that their own words turn to dust. The ones who mocked your faith, who called you foolish for trusting God, will see his power unfold in your life. Their arrogance will be humbled by your elevation, and their pride will be broken by your peace, not because you sought revenge, but because God is your defender, your advocate, and your righteous judge. Let this settle deep in your spirit. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, not a word, not a scheme, not a plan. They may plot, they may gather, they may even succeed for a moment, but God's justice will turn their plans to nothing. He will cause confusion in their camp, expose their intentions, and bring their efforts to ruin. Divine justice doesn't just stop the enemy, it silences them. It renders them powerless, voiceless, and unable to hinder your destiny any longer. Sometimes God allows the enemy's voice to rise, not to intimidate you, but to set the stage for his power. He lets them speak so that when he acts, there is no doubt who holds the final authority. And when he silences them, it is not with anger or wrath. It is with truth, with peace, and with undeniable evidence of his favor on your life. You don't have to shout. You don't have to explain. You don't have to retaliate. God will speak for you. God will act for you. God will silence your enemies with the sound of justice that echoes through eternity. There is a hidden strength in simply enduring, in waking up every day with a heart that has been bruised, yet choosing to love, in standing tall when everything inside you wants to collapse, in believing in the promises of God even when the evidence before your eyes screams that nothing is changing. Faithful endurance is not glamorous. It often looks like tears on your pillow, whispered prayers in the dark, and silent battles that no one applauds. Yet this quiet, unseen endurance is deeply powerful in the eyes of God. Many think that reward comes from doing great things, from bold declarations and visible victories, but in God's kingdom, reward often comes from the simple, steadfast faithfulness in the face of relentless trials. When you could have given up, but didn't. When you could have retaliated, but stayed silent. When you could have turned bitter, but remained kind. This endurance is not weakness, it is holy strength, and it draws the attention of heaven. God is not looking for perfection. He is looking for perseverance. He knows how heavy your burdens have been. He knows the silent suffering you carry, the pain others can't see. And with each step you take in faith, He is preparing a reward for you that far exceeds your current struggle. But this reward is not always material. It is supernatural. It's peace in the storm, strength in weakness, and favor that cannot be explained by human understanding. Have you ever felt like your prayers were unheard, like your efforts were wasted because no one acknowledged them? That is the place where faithful endurance lives. It's when you continue not because you feel like it, but because your soul knows God is watching, and He is watching. Not with indifference, but with a deep fatherly love. Your endurance is a declaration that your trust is not in what you see, but in who He is. Consider the story of Job, a man who lost everything, his wealth, his family, his health, and yet he endured. Even when friends turned against him and his body was ravaged with pain, Job held on. And because of that endurance, God rewarded him with double the blessing, double the favor, double the restoration. Job didn't endure for the reward. Your life may feel like a battlefield, and you may wonder if your endurance is worth it, but I assure you it is. There are rewards that only come through the fire, rewards that cannot be earned by ease or comfort, but only by the soul that refuses to give up. Supernatural reward means that God Himself will step into your situation and do what no man can do. Doors will open that no one can shut. Opportunities will arise that others cannot explain. Your name will be spoken in rooms you've never entered, because your endurance has written a testimony in the spiritual realm. And here's the truth. While others rise through shortcuts, manipulation, or deceit, you are rising through endurance. And that kind of rise cannot be stopped. It is a rise carried by the hand of God, not the applause of people. It is a reward secured in heaven, destined to manifest on earth in His perfect timing. So every time you choose to keep going, when it would be easier to quit, you are inviting heaven's reward. Every act of faithfulness, every tear cried in silence, every moment you stood your ground in faith is a seed. And God never forgets the seed of endurance. He waters it, nurtures it, and in time it bursts forth into a reward so great, so divine, that all will know it was God who rewarded your endurance. There is a particular kind of pain that only betrayal can bring. It doesn't come from strangers or enemies. It comes from those who were close, those you trusted, loved, and opened your heart to. The pain of betrayal is sharp because it pierces through the most sacred parts of your soul. It confuses your sense of reality, shakes your confidence, and leaves you wondering how someone you cared for could so easily turn against you. You replay the moments in your mind, the conversations, the laughter, the promises, and now they feel tainted, poisoned by the memory of their disloyalty. Betrayal doesn't just break your heart, it threatens your spirit. It tempts you to close off, to stop trusting, to build walls so high that no one can ever reach you again. And yet, in the middle of that deep, aching pain, there is a powerful truth. God's favor is not hindered by human betrayal. In fact, His favor often shines brightest when you have been most deeply wounded. You may feel abandoned, but God has not abandoned you. You may feel like you've lost everything, but God sees what was taken, and He is not silent. The betrayal you experienced is not the end of your story. It's a page in the narrative, but it is not the whole book. God's favor will not only restore what was broken, it will elevate you beyond the reach of those who tried to bring you down. Their betrayal was designed to break you, but it will serve as the backdrop for your breakthrough. There is something about betrayal that provokes divine favor. Why? Because betrayal brings you to the end of yourself, to the place where you can no longer rely on people, approval, or your own strength. It drives you into the arms of God, into a place of total dependence. And it is in that place of complete surrender that God begins to move in miraculous ways. When you can no longer rely on others, you learn to rely on Him, and those who rely on God never remain in the shadows. His favor surrounds them like a shield. Think of Joseph once again. His own brothers betrayed him, sold him, and left him for dead. They stripped him of his coat, thinking they had stripped him of his destiny. But what they didn't realize was that you can take a person's coat, but you can't take God's favor. Joseph's journey through slavery and prison was not the end. It was the passage through which God would lead him to the palace. And when Joseph was elevated, when Pharaoh placed a crown on his head, the very brothers who betrayed him had to bow before him, not because Joseph sought revenge, but because God's favor outshined their betrayal. This is what awaits you. The people who tried to bury you will have no choice but to witness your rise, not because you manipulated, forced, or demanded it, but because God's favor cannot be stopped. Their betrayal did not disqualify you. It qualified you. It set you apart as someone who could be trusted with divine elevation, because you chose to remain faithful when you had every reason to give up. You chose to walk in integrity when others took the easy road. You chose to forgive when bitterness could have consumed you. And now God's favor is resting upon you. You may not see it yet, but it is working behind the scenes. It is preparing doors to open, opportunities to arise, and blessings to flow in ways that will leave even your enemies speechless. God's favor is like a flood. It washes over every hurt, every wound, every scar, and brings life where there was once pain. The same mouth that spoke against you will witness God's favor speak for you. The same hands that tried to harm you will witness God's hand elevate you. There is no betrayal strong enough to cancel out God's plan for your life. What they meant for evil, God will turn for your good. And the beauty of it all is that you don't have to chase favor. It chases you. You don't have to force recognition. It will find you. God's favor is drawn to the faithful, to those who endure, to those who remain steadfast. And when His favor shines upon you, it will be clear to all who see you that you are chosen, protected, and elevated by God Himself. And no betrayal could ever change that. There's something profound about silent growth, the kind that happens not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, where no one sees your progress, where no one applauds your effort. It's the kind of growth that comes through suffering, through endurance, through choosing the high road when others try to pull you down. Spiritual growth is not loud. It doesn't boast. It doesn't demand attention, but in time, it becomes undeniable. And the most powerful truth about it is this: your growth will become so evident that it will expose the smallness of those who tried to keep you down. You see, those who betrayed you, those who spoke against you, those who tried to confine you to the version of yourself that they could control, they never expected you to rise. They thought their manipulation, their criticism, and their betrayal would break you, would limit you, would silence you. But what they failed to understand is that you were not rooted in their opinions. You were rooted in God's purpose. And anything rooted in Him does not wither. It grows, it flourishes, it bears fruit in its season. There is a sacred beauty in growing spiritually, while others stay stagnant. While they chased validation, you chased truth. While they remained bitter, you chose forgiveness. While they tried to sabotage your peace, you built it brick by brick through prayer, patience, and perseverance. That growth, slow, quiet, unseen, is what sets you apart. It refines your spirit, sharpens your discernment, and fills you with the strength that the world cannot understand. And here is where the divine shift happens. The people who once looked down on you, who once gloated in your struggle, will begin to see that you are no longer who you were. You outgrew their lies. You outgrew their manipulation. You outgrew their control. The chains they tried to wrap around your mind, your heart, and your future have been shattered, not by revenge, but by growth. And in that growth their smallness is revealed, not because you belittled them, but because they refuse to grow with you. Their smallness is not about status, wealth, or influence. It's about mindset, character, and heart. While you expanded in wisdom, they remained trapped in pettiness. While you grew in faith, they clung to fear. While you chose peace, they chose conflict. And now, as you rise, not with pride but with quiet confidence, they are left standing in the same place, unable to reach where God has taken you. Not because you pushed them down, but because they refused to rise. Have you noticed how the ones who once mocked your efforts now seem threatened by your peace? How the ones who laughed at your dreams now grow silent when they see your progress? That's because spiritual growth exposes the limits of those who choose comfort over change. Your journey, your evolution, your resilience, it confronts them. It forces them to see what they could have been had they chosen growth over gossip, faith over fear, humility over pride. And here's what's truly powerful. You never had to speak a word against them. You never had to argue, to prove, to justify. Your growth became your answer. Your transformation became your testimony. While they remained stuck in cycles of drama and deception, you transcended it all. Not because you were better, but because you were willing to let God shape you through the pain. Think about the seed buried in soil. In the darkness, it stretches, it breaks, it pushes through, unseen. But once it breaks the surface, once it blossoms, everything that tried to bury it becomes irrelevant. That's your story. You were buried by betrayal, by rejection, by ridicule. But you didn't die. You grew, you rose, and now the fruit of your growth exposes the barrenness of their actions. There's no need for confrontation, no need for validation. Your life, your peace, your maturity, they speak louder than any words ever could. Spiritual growth gives you a radiance that cannot be faked, a strength that cannot be bought, and a favor that cannot be stopped. And in time, those who try to contain you will have no choice but to recognize you've grown beyond them. Their smallness is not your burden to carry. Their refusal to change is not your responsibility. You chose growth, you chose God, and now your life bears witness to the power of rising above. There is a moment in every journey of suffering when you question whether the pain has a purpose. You wonder if the trials you've endured, the tears you've shed, and the weight you've carried have all been for nothing. When you're in the middle of heartbreak, betrayal, and disappointment, it's easy to feel forgotten, to feel as though your story has lost its meaning. But let this truth sink into your soul. God is not only writing your story, He is preparing to make you a living testimony of His power. Your life, with all its brokenness, is not a mistake. The things you've endured, the unjust treatment, the false accusations, the rejection by those you loved, none of it was in vain. These were not random sufferings. They were the fire through which God chose to refine you. And through that fire, He is crafting something extraordinary. A testimony so powerful, so undeniable, that everyone who sees you will have to acknowledge, only God could have done this. The world often looks at success and assumes it comes from talent, intelligence, or connections. But when God raises someone, He does it in such a way that no man can take the credit. When you emerge from the valley, from the storms, from the ashes of what was broken, it will be clear to all who witness your rise that God's hand was upon you. Your life will declare His goodness, His faithfulness, and His unmatched power to restore, redeem, and elevate. There's a reason why you didn't collapse under the weight of your trials. There's a reason why, despite everything, you're still standing. It wasn't your strength, it was His. It was His grace that carried you through nights of weeping. It was His love that kept you from falling apart when betrayal nearly broke you. And now, that same power is going to lift you, not just for your sake, but so that your life becomes a message to those who doubted, to those who hurt you, and to those who feel hopeless. A message that says, look what the Lord has done. Have you ever noticed how God chooses the most unlikely people to display His glory? He takes the overlooked, the rejected, the broken, and He raises them up to places of honor, influence, and peace. Why? Because when God uses a life that others thought was finished, it magnifies His power. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, not just to survive your pain, but to thrive beyond it. To live in such a way that your very existence becomes evidence of His divine intervention. There will come a time when those who ridiculed your faith will witness the fruit of it. The same mouths that mocked your prayers will see them answered. The same people who said, "You'll never make it," will see you rise to places they can't reach, not by your doing but by God's. You are being positioned as a testimony, so that when people see your joy, your peace, your success, they will know it was born out of struggle. They will know the story behind your smile, the battles behind your strength, and they will be forced to reckon with this truth. Only God could have turned your pain into purpose. Your life is a canvas, and God is the artist. He is painting a masterpiece with strokes of mercy, grace, and redemption. And when it is revealed, when others see the fullness of what He has done in you, you will not need to explain yourself. Your life will speak louder than words ever could. Every scar will become a mark of victory. Every hardship will become a part of your testimony, and people will look at you and be inspired, not just by your success, but by your faith, your endurance, and your God. You are becoming a living testimony, a walking, breathing example of what it means to trust God in the fire and emerge refined, restored, and radiant. Your story will bring hope to the hopeless, faith to the doubting, and glory to the one who never left your side. Through you, God will show that no pain is wasted, no betrayal is final, and no wound is too deep for His healing power. Let your life become the proof that God's power is real and that His promises are true. There comes a time when every heart, weary from the weight of injustice, yearns for closure, not from man, but from God. If you have walked through the valley of betrayal, rejection, and silent suffering, understand this: you were not abandoned, you were being refined. You were not forgotten, you were being prepared. And now, as you stand on the edge of transformation, know that God has seen every tear, heard every prayer, and counted every moment of your pain. Not 1 second was wasted. Your journey was not meant to end in defeat. It was designed to lead you to divine promotion, a kind that no human effort can achieve and no enemy can stop. God will reward your pain. He will humble those who caused it, not through your vengeance, but through His justice. Not through loud declarations, but through undeniable favor that will surround you like a shield. The very people who once caused your suffering will witness your rise, and when they do, they will know that it was not your strength, but God's power that lifted you. You were not called to live in the shadows of hurt, but to shine as a testimony of grace, strength, and divine restoration. So hold your head high, not in pride, but in quiet confidence that your God is faithful. Let your story speak to others who suffer in silence, and let your life be a declaration that no pain endured in faith is ever forgotten. The humble will be exalted, the betrayed will be rewarded, and the faithful, like you, will be lifted by the hand of God, beyond the reach of your enemies, into the fullness of His promise. Stay steadfast, keep growing, keep trusting, because the reward is near, and God's glory will be seen in your life.